The stock BMW saddle on the F650 is quite good, but it kind of locks you into one position. I wanted something flatter, lower, and with a grippier cover. So I got a scruffy old donor seat and I built my own custom saddle. And this video is about how I did it. In my last video, I talked about what options you've got if you're not a very tall rider and you're short in the leg. And I talked about the options around lowering the bike via changing the suspension linkages. And I also talked about option B, which was about having a lower saddle. And this is the video about more detail of option B, which is what I chose to do. Just to recap, my design brief was really clear. I wanted to make the saddle lower so that I could get my feet flat on the ground. I wanted it to be flat so that I could move around on the bike on longer rides. And I wanted a grippy cover like the ones I'm used to on dirt bikes, which enables me to get more control over the bike, especially if I start to take it off-road. I started with an old donor seat from eBay, 3 different densities of foam, gel inserts, and 4-way stretchy grippy vinyl for the cover. Tools were basic, lots of wide masking tape, an electric carving knife, a scalpel, sharp scissors, a rasp, spray adhesive, and a staple gun. Nothing exotic. The idea was to keep my original seat intact, it's in perfect condition, and do all the modifications on the donor. That way I'd always have the stock option and complete freedom to experiment with the build. The first job was stripping the old seat. I thoroughly cleaned the donor seat first to keep my working area as clean as possible. It is a messy job. Off came the worn vinyl cover. Then I carved away the original foam until I was back to a bare shape that I could work with. That gave me a clean foundation for the new design. Next, I reshaped the foam. There was lots of measuring, marking, cutting and test fitting until I had the right profile. And then I cut a pocket for the 2 gel inserts to sit flush. This was a fiddly bit, but it meant that if I did it right, the new saddle would still look relatively factory and not with a lump bolted on the top. Once the core was right, I layered fresh foam over the seat, glued it down and blended everything smooth. And finally, the new cover, stretched, stapled and trimmed to fit. That part tested my patience, I can tell you, but it came good in the end. And here's the comparison, stock seat versus the custom. You can see the lower, flatter profile straight away, and on the bike it makes a real difference. I can shift around more easily, and I've still got the stock seat if I ever want to swap back. So, what are some of the big lessons that I learned from this job? 1, it's a messy job. Have a vacuum cleaner ready and clean as you go. 2, the electric carving knife, which cost me about £15, was invaluable. I absolutely strongly recommend, if you're going to do this kind of work, get an electric carving knife. 3, working with vinyl is challenging. As you can see here, I'm going to need to do some remedial work now that I've used it for about 2,000 miles just to take this out. The way that you work, by the way, is you always stretch at 90 degrees to where the wrinkle is. So I'm going to need to stretch the saddle out that way a little bit. Is it a difficult job? No, it's time consuming and you need to be patient. There's lots of material from upholstery specialists on YouTube where you can learn a lot of good skills. But I would say that anybody with the time and patience can do this job, and it's really rewarding. In total, the cost of the job for me was £150, including all the materials and the tools and the donor saddle, which is way cheaper than getting it done professionally. And also I really enjoyed the project, by the way. So I hope you found the video interesting. Please give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already done that, and don't forget, keep riding, drink tea, stay safe. I'll see you next time. Cheers.